All right, so let's just get started. Now, the one thing I want to talk about today, like I'm not sure if you've seen the subject of this live, but essentially I want to share that program growth does not equate to capacity growth. And sometimes more can break your nonprofit. Okay, so we're going to talk about what that means. Let me make sure my cameras are good. I think we're good. Right. So what I'm going to start with is that, like I said, program growth does not equal capacity growth. You adding new programs does not mean your organization is getting stronger. Now, what do I mean by that? It may look impressive on paper, right? Where you're doing all the things, you have all these bells and whistles going on, you're making an impact, you're helping the community. And one thing I want people to remember, if you're running an organization, you might be serving the community and doing great work, but if the organization is not able to survive, you're not going to be able to continue this work. Okay, so again, you adding new programs or you delivering magnificent programs does not mean your organization is getting stronger. Okay. Again, it will look impressive in the newsletter. Oh, we did XYZ. It will look hella impressive, right? And you might be able to impress some funders short term, but internally, what's happening to a lot of organizations is that they're running on fumes where the founders, the executive directors are doing a lot of the work, and the delegation is nearly non-existent. Hey Deepa, hey Karima. So those are things I want you to keep in mind when you're trying to think about adding new programs to your organizations. And if you are a newer organization, too many programs may not be where you want to start because you may not have the capacity or the infrastructure yet. Okay. Because growth without capacity is just basically like a hot mess that you're trying to scale. I don't know if you've ever over salted food, right? And then you add more salt. What does it do? It just makes it taste worse. Okay. So growth without capacity, if you're not focusing on the capacity of the organization as you're trying to grow, it's just going to like make the problems a little bit more apparent. So I want you to think about that as we move forward because we're going to talk a little bit about this today. But just quickly introduce myself for those who are new here. If it's your first time with me, my name is Stacy Volsi, a fractional COO and nonprofit strategist. I work with nonprofit organizations and social enterprises that are generating under $10 million in revenue and who are ready to stop building empires on duct tape. Because believe it or not, there are a lot of nonprofits that are making $1 million to $6 million that are basically working on fumes and just hoping things work, right? So, a few things that I do, I'm going to share that. I do strategic planning, operational planning, systems audit, and design. So what that means is that I will audit your systems to see what's working, what's not working. I can also help you develop new systems in your organizations. So it helps the whole operation go a little bit smoother. And also I provide fractional COO support. So if you're not hiring, operating officer or anybody for your operations, I can work as a fractional COO for your organization at not full time, right? So I've helped organizations across the country so far in different states, but I am based in Sacramento in California. So I help them stop reacting, right, and really start leading from youth development organizations to health equity coalitions, and also organizations that work community-based organizations. So if you're a smaller organization, I've got you covered too. So there are self-paced courses in my Beacon storefront and digital planning templates to help your smaller nonprofit if that's what you're looking. And also there's a free Facebook support group called the Growth Minded Nonprofit Circle that I just started. And that will be on Facebook. So if you're interested in joining that group, definitely let me know. And comment the word circle. because I'll know. If you comment the word circle or just DM me the word circle, I'll send you the link for that free Facebook group. Again, it's for nonprofit organizations that are looking to grow and need information on how to build it sustainably. Okay. So definitely DM me or comment the word circle and I'll make that happen. I'll send you the link so you can join that. It is a free Facebook group and that's a community that we're building to make sure you have information and structure to help build your organization. So now we're going to talk about a few things that I see all the time, right? I see this every single week. You're running your nonprofit, you have new programs, you have a different project, right? But onboarding is a hot mess. When I say a hot mess, it's like people come in and they're like, oh, what are we doing? Just shadow me. We're going to do this. We're going to do it together, right? It's just a hot mess. Now, nobody's clear on who owns what because everybody's doing everything. Everybody's got their hands in the pot and they're stirring the pot, right? So to me, that's very chaotic and leads to a lot of problems long term because what that causes is that when nobody owns everything, you have a few things that occur. Your reports are late, your team is stretched thin, and you keep saying yes to more without really having the capacity to do that, right? It's not essentially, it's not that your mission is broken, is that you don't have the capacity to deliver on the things that you say you want to deliver on. So you can't deliver on the level that your growth requires because you don't have the capacity for that. And that's what happens to a lot of nonprofit organizations because you knowing the problem does not mean you can deal with the problem. And again, if you're joining me, hashtag live, let me know because then I am a little bit late. I was recording videos all day. So hashtag live, comment, like, and do the thing for the algorithm because I think I recorded like already 10 videos today. But that's okay. After this live, I'm probably going to do 5 more. So yeah, just knowing the problem does not mean you have the tools to know how to scale your organization or enterprise because you cannot scale or you cannot grow your organization with the same bones or structure that you had 2 years ago. Because the way you were working 2 years ago when you just were just starting, you were bootstrapping it and doing everything with your own money. You can't do that if you're trying to grow because now you're going to have to shift gears. You're going to have to take a different approach that requires a little bit more strategic thinking and intentional thinking. And you need to be more business minded because too many nonprofit organizations and social enterprises, well, social enterprises maybe not different, but nonprofits, yes, they behave like they're not businesses, but you are. You are a business and you need to realize that your business model needs to make sense. Okay. So I'm gonna tell you, like, the way you're functioning is not gonna hold, right? If you don't have that model in place, you don't have a structure in place, and you don't know what you're doing. So I'm gonna do my best to break it down for you today in numbers that make sense so you can understand where I'm coming from, because we have to make it make sense. We're living in a time where your nonprofit either has to become sustainable and survive what's happening now with the funding gaps that exist for a lot of nonprofit organizations, or you're going to have to figure out how to shut your doors, right? Figure it out. It's not easy. It's not hard to figure out. You can just chat GPT it. How do I dissolve my nonprofit organization? And I'm sure you're not in that space where you want to um, give up on your mission yet. So the only option, and I'm saying the only option is because it's either one or the other. Either you want to grow or either you want to stay the same, and you have to make a choice, and that choice is yours. So just a few real numbers for you to think about. Philanthropic giving, yes, it dropped in 2023, but staff burnout is actually the number one concern of nonprofit CEOs. And if you don't have systems or operations in the capacity, the staff burnout is going to happen. Okay, so just because, again, like people see giving or funding as the main concern, but never think about the capacity of their organization or anything that's happening internally. And the internal things are just as important for the organization than the surface level things. Yes, I say surface level because Funding, yes, you may think funding is the issue, but if you have a great team that you're not nurturing, you're not going to get that funding. Because then imagine you have somebody with the skill on your team, but you're not developing that person enough, and you're not developing the systems in your organization so that person doesn't feel burnt out and leaves, then how is that person going to help you bring funding? I don't know if you get what I'm saying, because then like one affects the other, and the internal problems will affect how people function within the organization, which will affect your ability to secure funding for your organization. So it's a whole cycle. And I need you to see that the internal issues are just as important as the big picture that people are looking at. Okay. So, and at the same time that we're talking about staff burnout being the number one problem, community needs have gone up. I don't know if you're like, if you're seeing what I'm seeing with, I know we've been talking about the prices of eggs for months, like eggs have gone up, housing instability is rising. We have more issues with the unhoused. There are mental health crises happening left and right. And our youth, they need our support more than ever. So everyone is expecting you to do more. But how are you going to do more if you didn't fix your operations in your back end in the first place? Because then doing more with less is just, to me, it's insanity, right? Because then you're expected to do more, but you don't have the support to do more. So one thing that you can do is start working on the back end of your organization so you can have so you can actually have some level of capacity to be able to do more. Because like I said, community needs are going up. And if you look at things that are happening right now, like we're going to come to a point where economic development or economic security is going to become an issue, because with the shift that's happening in the careers and the professional world, like people might not have secure jobs anymore. So your organization is going to have to step it up, and you're going to have to start building systems on the back end to support the needs that are coming. Or did you even do a needs assessment? That's another question, because you need to figure out what's happening in your community so you can serve them better. But I digress on that one. That'll be another conversation. I will go down a rabbit hole if we start talking about a needs assessment and seeing what's happening in the community and kind of predicting what's going to happen. So definitely we can like have a conversation about that on offline. And well, actually, like if you join the growth minded nonprofit circle, definitely a space that I would not mind having this conversation in. Okay. And speaking of that, on Facebook, remember I am on Facebook as well and on multiple screens. So bear with me. Anyways, one thing I will say, you cannot pour from a cracked system. Okay. So remember that when you are planning to do more with your organization and you're planning to address certain needs in the community, you need to think about how your organization is going to step up and actually play that role and be be the source of support for community members or your audience in general. Okay. And next thing I'm going to say, right? 74% of nonprofits admit that they don't have proper infrastructure to support their current work. Now, can you imagine how many nonprofits are in the US and 74% of them are saying they don't have the proper infrastructure? That is scary. That is sad, because when I think about economic security, nonprofits, it's a huge industry. It's a huge industry, and for nonprofits to say they don't have the infrastructure in place to support their current work tells me a few things. It tells me that they're not ready to care for the people that are on their team, because that's, to me, that's how I look at it. Because if you're not taking care of the internal problems, then you are putting the organization in a place where it's not only exacerbating the issues with the people it serves, but you're also making it risky for the people that work for the organization where they don't feel safe and secure in their job. Can you imagine somebody working for your organization and not knowing if they can come tomorrow and still have a job? Do you know how nerve-wracking that is? And we talk about the mental health crisis, and that's how your nonprofit is showing up. Like, that's something I really want you to think about. Sometimes I want nonprofit leaders to ask themselves questions like, you are advocating for change, advocating to support people in the community when people that work in your organization need help just as much as the people that you're serving. So that's a question that I'm going to drop for nonprofit leaders to start taking into like consideration, that yes, we have to support our communities, but people that work for you are also part of your community. And you're not paying them enough. I don't know why people think that just because you're a nonprofit, you shouldn't pay. That's not right. That's not right. But again, I digress. But join the Nonprofit Growth Minded Circle. That's a free Facebook group. If you want to have that conversation, I will happily we'll start debating and talking about that and think about different ways to address that and different ways that your nonprofit can do better, right? Like really do better. So the 74% of those nonprofits that don't feel like they have the proper infrastructure to support their current work, they're launching new programs, right? They're hiring new staff, applying for bigger grants. Now, that's like putting a second story on a house with foundation cracks. And that's what I want. That's what I help nonprofits with. I want to help nonprofits fix those cracks and ensure that they are functioning at a higher level to be able to support the growth that they're experiencing, making sure they have dashboards to record KPIs and metrics to support their ask for funding and run a tight ship. Because at the end of the day, you need to, like the nonprofits that I'm seeing, they need to tighten up. And whether you like it or not, that's just the reality of it, right? Because when you start working on these cracks and start building, that's when you can see actual growth and you're not being a liability anymore. Because too many people are claiming that a nonprofit is a tax exempt organization, that they're not seeing that the failure to become a organization that supports communities on a higher level, that's a leadership problem. Because if the leaders don't understand that part, where they need to fix the foundation, they need to fix the system, or they're not going to be able to grow sustainably, that's where the issue lies. That's where they're the liability. Because oftentimes the issues start with the leaders, because it goes from the top down. Because in your staff, why I've met leaders that say that their staff is incompetent. Why are they incompetent? Did you give them proper training? Did they have, what was the onboarding process? Do you have a process in place for onboarding? All of these things are questions that come to my mind because I want to audit what your systems are and how you contribute to what you're saying is the problem. Okay. So I do have space for free mini audits for operations and systems. You can apply for them if you go on the link in my bio. So you can apply for a free 15-minute mini audit for your operations and systems. If you go in the link in my bio, you will find that. So I definitely want you to realize that sometimes the leadership is just as guilty. You may not have the funding, but why? Why don't you have it? Okay, so all of these things are things that I'm gonna call people to the carpet, because then I don't mind calling you to the carpet, because then what you gonna do? You gonna get mad and block me? Go ahead and block me. I'm okay with that. But you need to be called to the carpet and you need to fix the problems. After we fix the problems, you can get mad and kick and scream all you want because I want you to fix the problems. Because the issue is a lot of people are reacting emotionally and not realizing that when you're being called out for things that you're not doing, it's not from a place of criticism, it's a place of feedback, and you need to like see and be objective and have a level of introspection to realize that, okay, the way I've been doing things is not working. What can I do? Okay, so that's the way I'm going to approach it. Like I said, you can kick and scream all you want, and later we can fight about it. But listen, I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, stand 10 toes down on business, and we gonna move forward. So now the other pattern I see, you get a grant, launch a new program, hire a bunch of people quickly, you don't onboard them properly, right? And all of them underperform. Because that's the other thing, underperformance, right? And you jump in to fix everything because you are the superhero. Because a lot of leaders, they want to be superheroes in their own stories. And that's an issue that you don't want. You do not want that. Because once you start jumping in to fix everything, you start burning out. That's when you start realizing that all the issues that exist are issues that you created. Because then what's going to happen next? You burn out, and then you're going to apply for a new grant to patch up the mess that you created. Now, I don't know about you, but patching the mess that you created, that's just as worse. Because now you're going to have to hire new people. You still did not create an onboarding process that makes sense. And you still have staff that's underperforming, and you're afraid of firing them. Because then there are some people that underperform and it's on the leader because they didn't onboard them properly. There are some people that underperform because they're just not right for the job. They got to go. But you don't want to fire them because you don't want to feel guilty because they told you they got two kids at home. But if they're not right for the organization, why are they there? It's better to fire quickly so they can go find a new job than to keep them on and you're bleeding money and not being able to do the work. So just putting it out there. Gotta hire quickly and fire quickly, but you have to onboard properly. And that's where this systems part makes sense. You need a great onboarding process to ensure that you're onboarding staff accordingly and you're not having issues with underperformance. Now, the thing I'm not talking about in the whole picture. Now, let's say there's an onboarding process created within your organization. How I help my clients is ensure that not only are the staff onboarded properly because there's a system in place, but there's also an accountability system where if somebody's not performing in the way they're supposed to, who's responsible for having that conversation? How does that conversation go? How does communication go to ensure that the person understands how they're underperforming, what they need to be doing, and there's a way to mediate what's happening, and there's a follow-up. Now, let's say I give you 2 weeks. Hey, you're not doing XYZ. What's happening? What is it that I can help you with? Is it the training? Figure out what they need, let them tell you, and then based on what they say, you can provide the solution. Now, let me see. Star Michelle, I'm tired of cleaning up mess. Michelle, you made you tickle me. She said I'm tired of cleaning up messes. Listen, that's something else. It's something else that COOs have to contend with, but having a great system in place for these nonprofits, it will make a difference. Because I've met some leaders where if there's an issue in the organization itself, they don't have a process on how to deal with this conflict. There's no conflict resolution of, okay, if this person is unsatisfied with this supervisor, what's the process? They have no manuals in place either. So all of these things are things that some people think are small, but they're not. Because having these things in place ensure that you know what happens in every eventuality. Okay, so that's where I'm gonna stop at that one, or I'm gonna talk too long about that one process. So again, you get a grant, launch a new program, hire quickly, you don't onboard the staff properly, they underperform, you jump in trying to save everybody, you burn out, and then you try to get a new grant to patch up the problems and hire more people. Again, the problem is not in the hiring the people, it's the process in which you hire people and how you onboard people. Okay, it's really a vicious cycle, and it's going to look like growth on the outside, But if you are very objective about it, it's just a level of dysfunction that exists within the organization that you're just making worse with more money. Because some people think they need more money to fix the problems. No, more money, more problems. More money is just going to scale the issue at hand. Because let's say you're hiring more people, you have 5 team members, all 5 of them are underperforming, all of them don't know what they're doing, none of them have any accountability check, and you hire 2 more people to bring on to that team or 5. Now it's 7 people. Now it's 7 people that don't know what they're doing, that you have to train, and you have to figure out how they're going to do their job because you don't even know what you're doing. So now you're doing the job of 7 people. Do you see what I'm saying? More money, more problems. Because then you do not have boundaries and you have no systems and you can't tell them that they ain't doing their job. This is what we're going to do, or what do you need for me to do for you? Because then I encourage leaders, go read a book on leadership. Go read a book on communication. Go read a book on how to have better teams. And what's the name of that guy? John Maxwell. John Maxwell has some good books on how to ask better questions, right? I encourage leaders that I work with to go look at these books and learn how to have certain conversations in some situations, because what it does, you want the leaders to have tools, certain tools to know how to lead effectively, because an ineffective leader will crash and burn your team faster than a fire in the Sierra Nevadas. Okay, so you need to be very mindful of how you're leading as well as much as your systems. So both of them go hand in hand. If your systems are good, but your leadership, they don't know what they're doing, it won't matter. So I think both of them are very important that both of them you're upgrading them. And leadership development is something I will continue to shout from the rooftops, is very important in any organization, because if you have somebody that's leading an organization that stays at the same level all day every day and never upgrades and never up levels in anything that they do, then you're going to have a huge problem in place no matter what systems you put in place. Okay, because then something is going to break, they don't know how to fix it, and then que será, será. Okay. So I'm going to share my framework with you, the my CAP framework. So my CAP framework is capacity, alignment, and processes. So I'm going to talk about that framework specifically to show you what it's supposed to look like and reduce stress in an organization. So capacity basically means that your people and your systems can actually carry the weight of the organization, right? Alignment means that your programs, your team, and your revenue plan are working towards the same quarterly priorities. Because let's say if your programs, right? I don't know what program to think about, but in your team, in the plan that you have to bring in revenue, none of them coordinate. Like they're doing a program on mental health in schools, right? And your team, they're working in hospitals, and your revenue plan, it's basically galas for the community members. Okay. None of them work together. Okay. Because your team is at the hospital, your program's supposed to be in school. There's a disconnect. So that's why I mean by alignment. Things are supposed to align, right? And the last part of the framework, the P, is processes, right? It means that you've documented the how, not just the dream. Because if you do not document the how, then how are you going to be able to repeat it or even evaluate what's happening to figure out if it's good or not? Because that's like the CAP framework is how you create sustainability and not just stress with your organization, because that's the thing you want to avoid. You want to avoid having a higher level of stress in your nonprofit organization because you don't have a process in place. You have no framework. You're just doing the thing, and you're just thinking, oh, okay, I just want to start a nonprofit because I love people. Listen, we all love helping people. It makes us feel good. And that's a level of selfishness people don't understand. A lot of people start nonprofits out of selfishness because of how it makes us feel. But how it makes us feel is not enough. We need to make sure that we're doing right by the people that we're serving. And that's where I stand. My kid is coming. Joshua, do not come in here, please. Go charge it downstairs. Give it to me and go. Give it to me and go. Go back. Love you. Yes. So, Joshua, I'll charge it for you. Go. Close my door. Go. 9-year-olds. But anyways, back here. So this is what I teach, the CAP framework, capacity alignment processes. This is what I teach inside my one-on-one work and my trainings, because it's what I'll be breaking down inside my new Joshua. You're grounded. I did nothing to you. This is what I break down inside my new Facebook community, and that I want people to understand. You need a framework to be able to take your nonprofit to new levels and to help it grow. Okay. So if you're not in my Facebook group yet, definitely comment the word circle and I'll send you the link, or you can DM me, because then, like I said before, I don't know how to use this TikTok comments yet. I'm new to going live on TikTok, so I'm not embarrassed to say I don't know how to use it, okay? So, growth minded nonprofit circle. It's for nonprofits and social enterprise leaders just like you. If you're running an organization under $10 million, can you take this, please? I don't know. Under $10 million in revenue, and they're ready to lead with structure and not stress. Okay, that's the thing that you need to remember, the structure. Because then I'm all about organization and building infrastructure. So that's what's really important for me in this group. And inside the group, different things that we'll cover, not exclusive to that. We'll talk about how to build a 90-day operational plan that your team can actually follow, signs that your systems are silently bleeding money, because that's the other thing that I want people to understand. Sometimes your organization is bleeding money, and that's really important for you to kind of fix, right? And how to align programs with staff capacity and not just passion, okay? Because passion is not enough. You need to make sure that there's a level of structure in place for the organization to be better, right? So comment circle below or DM me the word circle and I'll send you the link so you can join that, because I'm not about the fluff and all of that. We have to build a foundation for your nonprofit organization if you're looking for it to grow. So definitely let me know. Okay, y'all. I'm gonna have to deal with this kid in a minute, so I'm closing up. Let me make sure I close my door. All right. So before I leave, something I'll leave you with that I want to make sure I leave you with that you can do right now, right? Most of you don't actually know how much your staff can handle, and that's a big problem. Not knowing how much your staff can handle puts you in a precarious situation, and your nonprofit in a precarious situation where your nonprofit is at any minute can collapse, right? You don't know what they can do. So I'm going to give you a simple 3-step capacity snapshot. So step one, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to write out every active program that you're running right now. That's going to be the first step I want you to take. Write down every active program, because I understand some programs phase out and they're no longer active. So only the active programs. Okay. And step two, I want you to estimate how many staff hours each program takes every week. That's going to be hard to estimate, but that's where the homework's going to come in. I want you to estimate how many staff hours each program takes every week. Okay? Like, how many of your staff, how many hours do they spend on this activity? In the last step I want you to do, I want you to compare that, how many hours they take every week, to how many actual paid hours your team has. So what I mean by that, let's say you have Jane, you have Lisa, and you have John. Jane is spending 2 hours on program 1, right? And Lisa is spending 7 hours a week on program 1. And John is spending 3 hours per week on program 1. Now, how many actual paid hours do these people have? Let's say they're part-time and you only have one program and you already figured out that Jane only spends 1 hour on the program, but you pay her 20 hours per week. Where's the rest of her time going? Okay, that's why I want you to audit your capacity. Do a 3-step capacity snapshot, because you may be bleeding money because you have no level of organization and you don't know what's happening within your organization. Nobody is auditing their time. You're not auditing what your staff is doing. Nobody has clear roles and responsibilities. I need you to follow this 3-step process. If you are just tuning in, go ahead and watch the replay if you're on Facebook, because you need this 3-step capacity snapshot so you can understand why you need to do this. If your team is consistently working over 100 capacity, because maybe this person is working 30 hours on this program and they're way over capacity for this specific program, you do not need more funding if they're working over capacity, right? You need to start fixing the internal structure, because when you fix that, it will help you figure out where they need to scale back or how they need to improve the way they do their work so you can maximize their time, right? So fix the internal structure once you figure out the capacity issues within your organization. Because if you want help doing that, definitely DM me. I can send you the link for a capacity quick start guide, or definitely a tool to help you figure that out. Well, just DM me the word calculator and then we'll talk about like different tools that I have to help you figure out your capacity within your organization, your team's capacity essentially. Whew, Lord. But anyways, like I said, I would be closing. So you have to remember that programs are not the ones failing you, right? And they don't fail you because you have bad intentions. They fail because the back end of your organization is not built out, okay? You cannot scale something that is not stable. You cannot scale something that is not stable. That's something I want you to remember. And Michelle, definitely send me a DM. I would love to talk to you. I love meeting new people and learning what they're about. I'd love to have a conversation with you. And also, I want you to remember that you are not underperforming because of lack of passion, because we know all nonprofit leaders have passion. Like we already know they'll be the first one advocating for everybody they care for, right? So the passion we know you got. You are underperforming because you have not made operational clarity a priority for you or your organization. So, growth without infrastructure is just a pretty word for dysfunction. You just have a hot mess on your hand. Okay. So, I want you to ask yourself, what are you going to do about it? That's all it is. You got to do something about it. And I want you to ask yourself that question and figure that out. And also, if this hits home, definitely comment the word group or DM me the word group or circle, whatever it is. If you want to join the Facebook group, I'll send you the link for that. And if you want to talk about how to figure out your team's capacity, send me the word calculator and we'll talk about what that looks like. And I'll send you a tool that you can use to figure that out. Okay. But essentially, I'm going to be out. For those who know, I've been sick for the last 10 days. And I can't breathe no more. So I gotta go save this live. If you're on Facebook, tag somebody else so they can see this. But I am out and I hope everybody has an amazing rest of their day or evening, depending where you are. I'm in California, so it's like 4:38. But anyways, bye y'all.